Hey guys, James again. This is the second to last video of the work from home Sabre curriculum. See how I did that? Too bad you're not getting paid for it. I wish I was getting paid for it, but it works. So the last thing that I'm going to plant in your guys' mind, and also things that you can work on at home, is differentiating rotation of the shoulders from rotation of the hips, and how they can be independent or linked to each other. I'll kind of bring in some rudimentary understanding of some other contemporary systems of the 17th century or thereabouts to see if I can help accentuate that. We fight from a generally slightly bladed stance. Some of us get to being square, depending on what we're doing. But the ways that I can really think about this is when we start from the shoulder, it's useful to be able to deliver a cut only utilizing rotation of the shoulder. The reason that this is really useful is, one, if we're fighting outside in a tournament or exhibition match or whatever, sometimes the ground's not great. We don't want to be moving a whole lot. We don't want to be wedging ourselves deeper into some not so great ground. We don't want to accidentally slip if the ground's wet. That's largely the historical reasoning for it. I also think that if you are on a subpar surface for your regular fencing classes or having fun, it's useful to be able to go like, oh wow, this is not a great surface to do that on. I'm just going to mostly move from my shoulders. The way that I'll demonstrate that is first, Russ Mitchell was here a few weeks ago to teach a mini workshop, which was great. Thank you, Russ. And working from things that he showed, we have our saber out in front of us. I'll show it from there. It can be done wherever the saber is in front of you. But if we have this very square positioning, right on with our against our opponent, facing them, the way that we differentiate our shoulders from our hips is essentially by not really moving our lower body in a stationary position at all. We want to focus mainly on just making sure our shoulders are following through on our cuts. It's probably a little bit difficult to see because I'm wearing very large goofy pants, but the rotation of my hips is very minimal. As I slowly speed this up, you'll see that my shoulders become more engaged. I already lost the 1, 2, 3 there. 1, 2, 3, 4. My shoulders are more engaged. My hand is starting to create a more closed fist when I'm getting to the point where I would be making contact. And you can really see this through the reversal of my shoulders. As I cut from side to side, my shoulders are getting a little bit of a reversal every single time. It's probably slightly different than what Russ Mitchell taught. It's just the way that I make it make sense in my head. Forgive me, Russ. Forgive me. Other things that we can do to help accentuate that is by taking a little bit more of that Barozzo cutting stance, which is very square on from your opponent. I will generally tell people to do this if they like to fight from their shoulder, which I actually like to do a lot. And this is where you can start bringing in very linear footwork, where as you slowly advance forward with our heel toe action, you'll just cut 1, 2 as you advance forward. You can see I'm still getting slight reversal of the shoulders. It's not as accentuated because I am having to move forward, but you'll notice that what that isn't, if I were to use my hips, what it isn't is the issue with using my hips in that manner when I'm cutting that way is that it impinges my movement forward. We have a solution to that in the class called the circular pace, but for this demonstration I think it illustrates that point. Another thing that's great to do from the Barozzo stance to ensure that your shoulders are independent of your hips is triangle stepping. So cut 1, cut 2, cut 1, cut 2, triangle step, 1, 2, triangle step, triangle step, triangle step, triangle step. I probably didn't do that nearly as well as people actually do Barozzo. And from my meager understanding of basically taking something that I saw in their system and hopefully making sense of it, I want to make sure that my hips are always able to move in a direction that my body is not necessarily wanting to move forward in. In this case, my upper body wants to stay moving slightly forward because my shoulders are moving. I want my lower body to be able to cart me around while I'm doing that. If that makes sense. I'm sure this makes more sense in person when I'm not talking to a camera. That is in contrast to the circular pace system that I teach in this class, which really engages the hips and the feet. I'll show you like the textbook perfect example of the circle step for the circular pace cutting. I'll start that over again because that was not the textbook example. So what you're seeing there is I'm basically transferring the weight that's on my shoulders and keeping my arms cutting. I'm basically transferring that down into the rest of my body, into my trunk, by engaging my hips while my shoulders rotate. This allows me for a more powerful cut. It allows me to also cheat distance occasionally. Doing this when I step out, that usually allows me a more powerful cut as well as to extend out further. It's not as great because I can pretty easily lose control of my momentum and inertia while I'm doing that. And so that's why I'm trying to pan this out of why you should differentiate between your hips and your shoulders. Again, I don't think I have a real drill to like give you guys to go do this thing. I just want you guys to make aware of it, so that when we come back to class, hopefully soon, we can talk a little bit more about the fine details of why we might want to cut from the shoulder in a certain situation versus why we might want to engage our entire body. The holistic approach of the system is being able to cut at any given moment with only your shoulders, with your hips and your feet, and kind of go back and forth between all of those things. I'm not even at that level. I don't expect anyone else to be at that level right now. I thank you all for my teaching and instruction patience, or patience with my teaching and instruction. But yeah, that's another little earworm for you, thing to think about. For now, definitely, if you can, in a straight line, while you're at home, keep trying to work the circular pace while you're around. We kind of call it the waddle. I'm leading with my hips, lots of swagger. You can do that with or without a sword. If you still want to work the circular pace with an object in your hand, I suggest doing 1, 2, 1, 2 over and over again. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. If you want to work on isolating the shoulders a little bit more, they're going to doing that same thing along the line, but trying to keep your lower body just going in a straight line. So 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, hopefully that helps. Hopefully it's something that you can try and work on. Thanks. See you guys later.